From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to 1680 The Crow. I'm Liam Higgs, and this is your 10 o'clock news update. But first, let's get right into it with our producer, Jag Rajlali, who has our top stories.
Thanks, Liam. First, Philip discusses a major financial issue with Metro Vancouver's transit, which is dealing with a big funding problem of $4.7 billion over the next decade. This is a serious challenge that could affect how the transit system operates in the future. Next, Jocelyn looks into the COVID-19 pandemic and prisons, showing how the combination of these two things has made overdose deaths up to 50% more likely. It's quite a big health concern. In our For the Record segment, Melanie tells us about an important event, the 6th annual Guiding Youth Home Fundraising Gala, happening on November 24th in Surrey's Aria Banquet Hall. It's all about helping and supporting young people in the community. Finally, in our feature segment, Jake explores why people enjoy being scared, particularly when it comes to haunted houses. From financial challenges to health issues, community support, and the mysteries that intrigue us, we've got a little bit of everything in our stories today. Stay tuned with us to stay informed and well entertained. Back to you, Liam.
Thanks, Jag. On to some local news. A manslaughter case is coming to an end due to the sentencing of a man who pled guilty in the drug-related death of a Langley teen in 2019. The teen Carson Cremini overdosed after being sold a drug known as MDMA, or more well known as ecstasy. The person who sold Cremini the MDMA pled guilty in September. He cannot be named as he was 17 at the time. A judge's decision is expected to be made later today. There will be an update on Hazel Trembath, the school that burnt down just under 2 weeks ago in Port Coquitlam. School District 43 and the RCMP will be giving an update at 10:30 later today, so stick around to hear for that. The school was destroyed on October 14th, and at the time, police believed the fire to be suspicious. Also, a driver has pled guilty in a car crash that killed 2 students at UBC campus. The driver was charged in 2021 and is set to be sentenced. The sentencing is currently set for November 6th. In other news, a Vancouver City Councillor wants more than triple the number of speed and red light cameras at the city's intersection as a way of preventing crashes. Councillor Christine Boyle says there are 107 dangerous intersections that should be prioritized. Though the City of Vancouver does not currently have the authority to install these cameras, the hope is the mayor will write to the province and ask for more cameras to be installed and to request that municipal governments are be given the authority to install these cameras. Going south of the border now, a shelter-in-place orders are in effect for all residents of Lewiston, Maine, after a mass shooting that killed at least 16 and wounded dozens, more at a restaurant and a bowling alley. Conrad Childs lived in a nearby town of Auburn. He and his family often went to that bowling alley.
I believe it. I know it's real. It's just, I don't want to believe it, you know. To see poor innocent people killed like that, especially children, you know.
Maine doesn't require permits to carry guns. The state has a long-standing culture of gun ownership that is tied to its traditions of hunting and sport shooting. The United Auto Workers Union has reached a tentative contract agreement with Ford that could be a breakthrough to end the nearly 6-week-old strike. Reporter Rebecca Jarvis has the details.
A majority of the 57,000 rank-and-file Ford employees will have to approve the proposal for it to become official. And those strikes against General Motors and Chrysler parent company Stellantis remain ongoing. But the Ford deal could provide a framework in negotiations to end those strikes as well.
Ford says it will focus on restarting the Kentucky truck plant in Louisville and the Chicago assembly plant. Going on to the rest of the world now, an update now on Hurricane Otis. Hurricane Otis has been confirmed at least 27 were killed in Acapulco. Otis crashed into Mexico as a record-breaking Category 5 storm. More than 500,000 homes and businesses lost power across Mexico. 4 people are still missing, and Mexican officials are still trying to determine the full extent of the damage. Moving on to the weather, don't get your hopes up as it looks like the rain may be behind us as it starts to get sunny for the rest of the week. We're also having highs of 11 degrees. Thank you, everyone, for joining me this morning. I'm Liam Higgs. This was your 10 o'clock news update. Don't go too far, though, as the wonderful host, Aaliyah Andres, will be up in just a bit.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
You're listening to For the Record on 1680 The Crow. I'm Jagraj Lawley. Amateur sports are a lot more than just games. They're like the heartbeats of communities and the building blocks of individuals. They help you develop skills, deal with pressure, and become mentally tough. It's where you learn teamwork, get noticed, spend time with those you admire, and build your physical and mental strength for pro sport. Making mistakes in amateur sports is like practice for the pros, making the jump to the big leagues easier. To better understand this, I'm now joined by Steve Erickson, a local broadcaster and amateur sports expert. What are the main ways amateur sports can help create strong communities?
Amateur sports are what I call a real necessity in today's world. We've got so much unrest in the world that the only way people can either, get rid of their, all their frustrations, or just try and, go out and have fun and interact with each other is basically go out and play sports. And whether it's on a ball diamond or a lacrosse box or a hockey rink or a tennis court or even a pickle court, whatever it might be now, it's a way of one, especially in today's world, it's a way of relieving stress, but it's also a way of making new friendship and just sort of, being a real good part of society.
How do amateur sports promote personal growth and bring people together?
First thing amateur sports does from my perspective is it creates a healthy environment. And I've mentioned to you before that there's too much frustration and negativity in it. And if everybody could just sort of put that aside, sports helps grow the world all in a positive light. First off, a healthy lifestyle, positive thoughts, positive teaching, and those three things alone can really, help the world take off and help athletes not just grow, but also develop their skills. And there can be too much pressure on some of the young athletes by some of the parents. And I see that, and I know you're just getting into it, but you'll see that throughout your career too. You'll see some of the pressure by the adults. And if the adults would only learn to let the kids be kids and develop at their own level, they'd be far better off.
What are some memorable stories that you witnessed throughout your career of how amateur sports have transformed individuals or communities?
I think the first thing as far as communities, and whether it's towns or city or villages or whatever it might be in Canada, I think the biggest thing is you have to have your local community or your council, your mayor and council behind you to really embrace it. Because if they don't take an active attention in, the amateur aspect of it and young sports or sports in general, it's going to be tough to develop and grow future citizens for the world. Because a prime example, a little while ago, I was talking to Ravi Kalan, who is our provincial right now in BC, our provincial housing minister. And I've got Ravi pretty much on speed dial because when Ravi was growing up in North Delta, he played field hockey. And we went out, and myself, Kevin Adlam with Eastlink TV, we actually went out, well, then it was Delta TV, but we actually went out and we did an interview with Ravi about, starting to play field hockey and what it was like. And he said that the one thing that he noticed from his career was that, first off, his parents were not pushy. They said to go out, play a sport, but whatever sport you want to play, have fun. And he said the other thing that he really remembers is that the coaches made it fun for him to do. He said, if he made a mistake, and he said, Lord knows, he said, when I was starting, he said, I made a lot of mistakes, but he said, having made the mistakes, he said, it helped me grow into a better person to learn that you can go through adverse problems and issues in your life. And as long as you focus and try and develop them to make them better, you can make them better.
What challenges do you think the amateur sport programs face, and how can they be overcome?
Challenges, number one, are pushy parents more than anything else. There's far too many parents push their young son or daughter, to try and escalate and become the number one superstar so that I guess they can make a pro level at whatever it might be, and they're going to buy mom or dad a brand new house and a new car. If the parents, again, would let the kids be kids, they'd be fine. Far too much pressure from the parents. Not a lot of pressure from aunts or uncles or grandparents and stuff like that, just the parents in general. But you will get the odd coach that is far too aggressive and overzealous, where they think that, they're playing, for example, a U14 hockey game or whatever it might be, and they think that that's their Stanley Cup final, and they put far too much pressure on the kids. I've seen them bench kids. So instead of, all the parents are paying equal amount of money. So instead of having the kids, get a normal shift, and I understand about winning and losing and all that, but instead of having the parents or the young player, go out and play and have fun, and yeah, they mess up, but you got to play them equal. I don't care if you play one kid like 3 minutes and another kid 30 seconds. At least get them on the ice or get them on the pitch or whatever it might be. Get them involved in the game. And I guess between some of the pushy parents and some of the coaches that want to, make their mark in life and become like a pedestal, bearing person, I think that's where they're going to go.
What advice would you give to communities or organizations looking to support amateur sports?
Number one is get behind it, embrace it. Don't just sit back and say, well, yeah, that's a good idea. Ask questions. Like really ask a lot of questions. If you're an executive member or you're in a higher up level and somebody comes to you with an idea, for example, like pickleball, ask them about it. Ask them how they're going to develop it, how they're going to grow it, what their needs are, what pros and cons both days. What are some of the limitations that they're facing and where they think they can go off? But I think, if they do that, if they the groups, the user groups, actually ask good questions, go into it. Don't just go into a meeting blind. You've got to go in with a whole pile of questions and get your questions answered. Don't leave a meeting with one or two questions unanswered, because then you're going home and somebody says, well, how did it go? And you're going, I think it went okay, but you're not sure. You have to be sure if you go into a meeting. So if you reach out to the community and you're honest with the community, don't try and tap dance around an issue. If there's a problem that you think that your sport might face, be honest and tell them that. Tell them, say, look, this is one of the issues we've heard from another group, but I think it will really work. Like I say, honesty pays dividends, and you're honest with them, they'll go to the moon and back for you. And it's no different from the new outdoor lacrosse box in Ladner here that they built a little while ago and put up. The city, there was a long, hard fight for that. We went through about 2 different mayors to try and get that lacrosse box put up, but the lacrosse community embraced it. They went to them and they said, look, we're prepared to do this, and this is what we would like you to do. And it wasn't just put the onus on them. They really worked together on it to make it work. And I think that's the big thing right there, is just be honest and work with each other.
My last question to you, what were the most inspiring moments, or not even inspiring, what were the craziest moments you witnessed during your broadcasting career in amateur sports?
Oh, craziest moments. Everything from going back, it seems like 100 years now, doing a game up in North Vancouver at the North Shore Winter Club when it used to be that, and doing a game, and no names mentioned, but having a young boy that was playing hockey and having his mother walk up and down the sidelines, and eventually she threw her camera on the ice because she was frustrated with the way the referee was, that I was making the calls and her camera come on the ice. And that was when they had film. So this is going back a few years, but it was interesting. That's number one. I think the other thing is the biggest thing that everybody has to understand more than anything else is that a game has to be played in a safe environment. Safety takes priority over winning or losing or anything. If it's a baseball game and a player gets hit with a ball, don't just say, well, get off the diamond and we're going to start the game. Make sure that young boy or girl is safe and that they're healthy, because the biggest job a referee has is to make sure that a player, any player of any sport, doesn't have to make a pit stop at the hospital to pick up their son or daughter on the way home. That's the biggest thing. Safety first and foremost. And I mean, I've seen people just flip right out because, little Johnny or Mary is not getting enough ice time or floor time or, whatever it might be. And the parents have to just let the kids be kids. But for the most part, if you joke and you're honest with a coach and you go over and you talk to him as an official, honestly speaking, you can sort of have fun with a coach. And if you're honest with him and sort of have a good, what I call a real easy peasy relationship with the coach, the coaches they'll buy you coffee after the game. Just be honest with them, and they'll work for you, because everybody makes mistakes. I mean, we sat in pro sports and we watch it in minor sports, so mistakes are going to happen. Doesn't matter what it is. And I mean, just be honest. But bottom line, have fun.
Appreciate you so much for taking the time to talk to me, Steve. All the best.
Anytime. And a big thing, just for all the parents, again, just, let the kids be kids. Let the kids grow up at their own space and time, because, life is short, and we see all the unrest we've got in the world right now where everybody's fighting and arguing with each other. And man, oh man, fingers crossed that it all goes away one day, because, the world's a beautiful place and there's a lot of people missing out on that. So for parents, let the kids be kids and let them grow up by themselves. And, you'll pay dividends. They'll pay dividends for you for that too. And they'll respect you a lot more.
That's all for today. Stay tuned for more inspiring conversations on For the Record right here on 1680 The Crow.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikka-King. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Welcome, good morning, and thank you for joining us. My name is Aaliyah Andres, and here are the news headlines, to 10:30. Beginning with the breaking development in Metro Vancouver, the wait for justice is approaching for the family of Karsten Cremini, a 14-year-old who died in 2019 after being given illicit drugs at a Walnut Grove skate park. Videos were posted to social media of the teen having medical distress while bystanders laughed and mocked him. The man in connection to Cremini's death, who was a minor at the time of the incident, pleaded guilty Thursday morning to manslaughter and will be sentenced. The Crown has asked for 2 years in prison, followed by 1 year of probation, while the defense is asking for 12 to 18 months in custody, followed by a probation period. Before Thursday's sentencing, the defense explained to the court the accused has since quit dealing drugs and has been employed for 3 years. Data from ICBC says that for the past 5 years, there has been an average of 22 crashes that cause injury or death per day on Vancouver streets. City Councillor Christine Boyle wants to triple the number of speed and red light cameras at the city's intersections in an attempt to do more to prevent fatal crashes. Boyle says there are 107 dangerous intersections that she would like to see prioritized, and that there are already 43 cameras placed throughout the city that have been proven to be a cost-effective way of improving safety. A huge accomplishment for a Langley Little League was presented yesterday. The BC Sports Hall of Fame announced their class of 2024 inductees at BC Place. Our BCIT reporter Jocelyn Chappelle attended the event and explains the outstanding win for a local team.
The inductees represent extraordinary individuals that have contributed to significant moments in BC sport history. They included athletes, coaches, a team, and a media member. One of the coaches for the 1998 Langley Little League All-Stars boys baseball team, Dave Mahalik, spoke about what it means for the team to be inducted.
It's an outstanding honor for a group of they're boys then, but they're now young men, for the historic run to the Little League World Series. When I say historic, they finished higher than any other Canadian team before them or after them.
The BC Hall of Fame has these classes of inductees with the purpose of preserving their legacies and inspiring future generations. The class of 2024 will have a formal induction gala this upcoming May. Jocelyn Chappelle, 1680 The Crow.
And now into some devastating news across the border. 18 people have been reported dead and another 13 injured from a shooting at a bowling alley last night in Maine. A witness from the bowling alley tells his terrifying experience to reporters yesterday evening.
Just normal night of bowling, and out of nowhere he just came in and there was a loud pop. Thought it was a balloon. I had my back turned to the door. And as soon as I turned and saw it was not a balloon, he was holding a weapon, I just booked it down the lane, and I slid basically into where the pins are and climbed up in the machine and was on top of the machines for about 10 minutes until the cops got there.
Police are now searching for the shooter, Robert Card, who is considered armed and dangerous. And a short update regarding the Middle East. European Union leaders are debating ways to best use their combined leverage to ensure that more aid reaches Palestinians in Gaza. EU President Ursula von der Leyen says with wars involving Israel and Ukraine, it's important to remain united.
With all these challenges, the European Union needs to react and act united and resolute. The Commission is acting decisively.
And moving into something lighter, non-alcoholic drinks are rising in interest, which is leading some brands to create sober versions of popular beverages, such as Guinness and Tanqueray Gin. Market research company Mentel's Joel Gregoire is the associate director for food and drink, who says these new creations are a sign there's still plenty of room for growth in the industry.
They're sizing the market, saying where are consumer trends at, where are young people at, for the brand to be relevant, not just now, but in the years ahead. And how do we service that demand? And for me, if I was running an alcoholic beverage company in that space, this is not a space that I would ignore.
Now for the local weather. It is cold and sunny, currently 3 degrees in Vancouver. And those were the news headlines to 10:30. I'm Aaliyah Andres, and you're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the lower mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
too fast because my heart is going a bit too fast, so I'm going to slow it down a bit. Hey,
We're like middlemen straight from the creator making these moves.
We're all kind of misfits.
Something to look forward to, you know? I feel like it's important. Like usually I'll just be like, grab my arm, and then you just kind of like pull them like a T-bar, you know?
I think skateboarding is a piece of medicine in itself.
We're just doing the work in hopes that eventually we'll have chapters of other nations' skate youth in other parts of Turtle Island.
It's nations, skate yours.
Nation Skate Youth started in my living room, organically. I was asked to go to Fort St. John to talk about mental health and bring skateboarding. I didn't know who to bring, and the first person I thought of was Joe Buffalo. Big inspiration in my life.
Joe came up with the name. It didn't really click at first, but after a while we made the logo and everything, and it all just came together so fast.
I think one of my main goals when I started Nations was to get more skate parks on reserves. We realized that this would be a bigger thing, to not just go to one community. We wanted to go to all the communities.
We all wanted to, create something that was like a youth program to help empower like youths through skateboarding. It's a way of getting yourself out of your own shell. And I feel like in a lot of First Nations communities, there's not a lot to do in those communities. It's very small, and sometimes you feel like you're trapped. A lot of them are really nervous when we first meet them. And I feel like when we always start with a talking circle. So it's like we tell our stories, and we kind of we try to make them feel comfortable, and tell them why we're there, and what we're gonna do in the day.
Everyone here is a new beginner or has skated before, and we're here to help each other. If you fall down, take a breath, get back up.
Everything's that way in the beginning, you know what I mean? You're gonna feel out of place when you're beginning, you know what I mean? That's normal. But once you meet your crowd, and that's half the battle with us growing up, is trying to find your people so that they grow with them from a young age as family members, and then they grow as skateboarders.
Gives you like a sense of identity too, you know? Like every time I went to school, I'd always be like, I can't wait to go skate after, having that, something to look forward to, you know? I feel like it's important when you're a kid.
Especially having a brother. It's easier to influence each other to do things, and you progress faster because of that. And it's like always having a friend there, and always having that safety net in a sense.
Skating is something that we grew up doing together. I feel like that kept us close, Skateboarding is part of my identity, and my family is part of my identity.
We just let skateboarding do its thing. It's that rich, All we do is connect and instill that, plant that seed. It's something I never had growing up,
Seeing Joe skateboard at his level and hearing that he went to the residential school and the way that kids oh, my dad went to residential school. Oh, my brother did. Oh, my mom did. They start to relate. And I think that, it's been a healing journey. Skateboarding, like I said, will take you out of all the negative, all the darkness that you feel. And once you get on a skateboard, that's an opportunity for you just to focus on something and be present.
Like even in my community, there's suicides like every year, and it's really sad because you lose knowledge keepers, you lose, you know, momentum, like you lose just youth that have a lot of potential. And I remember Rosie, that was the biggest reason why she wanted to start Nations.
You know, to talk about alcohol, drugs, and suicide, because it's happening and they're so young and they see it and they're experiencing it. And just to let them know, like, that they're valued.
It kind of stops that intergenerational trauma because it's a lot of self-doubt, and skateboarding kind of gives you that, you know, that recognition that like it's not, yeah, it just gives you that freedom to express yourself.
Hell yeah.
So today I was skateboarding on the skate park and I was just learning. I was a little nervous at first, but then I got the hang of it. He made me feel happy. Okay, can we do that again?
Yeah, let's do it again. Okay, I'll go on this side of you.
Because he is a good skateboarder and he taught me how to do some tricks. Apple turnover and like tic-tac.
When you have someone believing in you and cheering you on, like that whole feeling, and that's how I try to do with Nations, you know, like you got it, you're there, and the just like the inspiring and like the empowerment you get from that, it's a good feeling. We want the youth to be their best selves. We want them to know that everything isn't going to be easy. But once they start skateboarding and you can see that they're pushing on their own and they're able to do tricks right away, and I think that's something that is so positive, and you know, it's gonna create leadership and create community where there hasn't been. What I've seen at Nations that makes me proud, when I ask a youth how to count in their language or say hello or thank you in their language, and they can tell me.
So kikiu means eagle, musquases means bear, kukam means auntie, grandma, musa means grandpa, and tuk-tuk means duck.
What's your favorite word in Cree?
Eagle because I'm an eagle.
In so many ways I was trying to find myself in skateboarding, like the community skateboarding has, which has been really fulfilling in a lot of ways. But I think connecting to my culture, you really do feel that connection with your ancestors when you do that stuff. I feel like with Nations we're able to use skateboarding as like a tool to empower youth and to like give them, I know Rosie always said it, but like, you know, be proud of who you are and be proud of where you come from. And I feel like it rings so true in so many of the communities that we go to.
To be proud of who you are, be proud of where you come from, not to be ashamed. I feel like when you start telling them that at a young age, it's going to change the way they look at themselves, the way they carry on their culture and their traditions, the way that they will have that close relationship with their grandparents, and to learn. I know for me, I've heard stories that broke me, that completely broke me. And it made me mad, it made me angry, it made me sad, it made me pissed right off at the government. But when you're around youth, you know, you want to show them the hope. You definitely want to show them that there's hope out there.
Because it's needed. Someone's got to be here for the youth. Someone's got to be that person, that older brother, older sister needed, that kind of needed, you know? There's nothing like it. So that's why we figured give back. I'm here to teach you. You're not going to fall. I'm going to hold you, okay? Give me your hands. We're just getting started, man.
Having self-determination to be better and to create that community, I think, is something that we want to pass down to the youth as well. Show them what's possible.
Look, Joanna, hey, hey, look, Joanna, hey, hey, CGLA, hey, hey,
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretnero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikka-King.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns mosques.
From the Broadcast Center at BCIT's Burnaby Campus, this is All Talk Radio. You're listening to 1680 The Crow.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to 1680 The Crow. I'm your host with the most, Liam Higgs, and this is your 11 o'clock news update. Let's get right into it with some local news. Getting right into that update on Hazel Trembath. Earlier this week, the students from Hazel Trembath were sent to a new school at Winslow Centre. They will be staying at the school for as long as needed. There are currently 215 kids from kindergarten to grade 5 who have been displaced. There are current ongoing conversations in hopes to expedite the construction process. The timeline as of right now is 3 years, but the hope is sooner. The crime scene is currently open, so construction should be able to start any day now. The fire was considered suspicious and is still under investigation. Stay tuned as we will be updating this story throughout the day. The criminal trial of 2 Freedom Convoy organizers has resumed between the defense and Ottawa police in an attempt to gain access to internal police communications. The trial was stalled last week when the lawyers for Tamara Leach and Chris Barber asked for those internal emails about the evidence that police disclosed in the case. They received heavily redacted copies of the emails, the details of which the Ottawa police say are protected by solicitor-client privilege, which appears to have wiped the data from the phones from at least 2 officers shortly after the protest ended. Leach and Barber are accused of mischief and counseling others to commit mischief. TD Economics is predicting Canadian home sales and average prices will fall over the coming months. Don Kelly from the Canadian Press has more.
TD says the market's still feeling the impact of higher interest rates, which will likely push sales down by 10% and prices down 5% by the end of the first quarter of next year. Its expectation of a recovery is based on an assumption the Bank of Canada will cut its key interest rate by next spring as unemployment rises and the core inflation rate inches lower toward the bank's 2% target. TD says it'll likely take until 2025 for Canadian home sales to sustainably surpass pre-pandemic levels. Don Kelly, The Canadian Press, Toronto.
TransLink says it's facing a $4.7 billion funding shortfall over the next decade, and with help, it could be forced to cut service by as much as 60%. The report says $2.8 billion of the shortfall is related to lower fuel tax revenues. It says $1.8 billion relates to higher expenses, including $839 million attributable to inflation and wage growth, and another $408 million to operate the new SkyTrain expansions, while increased debt services cost represents about $459 million. Going across the border now for a quick update on the shooting in Maine. Authorities have launched a massive search for a man suspected of fatally shooting 18 people at a bowling alley and a restaurant in Maine. Public Safety Commissioner Michael Soschuk says Robert Card is considered armed and dangerous.
There is now arrest warrants for murder for this particular individual, Mr. Card. So he is viewed as a suspect, and there is a full court press by all of our partners to bring him into custody.
Card is still at large and is wanted on 8 counts of murder. More counts will likely be added as the victims are identified. European Union leaders are debating ways best to use their combined leverage to ensure that more aid reaches Palestinians in Gaza. EU President Ursula von der Leyen says with wars involving Israel and Ukraine, it's important to remain united.
With all these challenges, the European Union needs to react and act united and resolute. The Commission is acting decisively.
Sorry, right there, that was Ursula von der Leyen Spanish Prime Minister ever Pedro Sanchez has called for an international peace conference on the Middle East conflict to take place within 6 months. Let's round it off with some weather now. As don't get your hopes up, but it looks like the rain may be behind us this week as it starts to get sunny for the rest of the week. We also are having current highs of 11 degrees as the sun continues into next week. Thanks everyone for joining me this morning. I'm Liam Higgs. This was your 10 o'clock news update. Don't go too far as we'll be right back with Aaliyah Andres.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
Everything is changing to digital. Everything is online. People aren't just waiting for the 6 o'clock news anymore. People want their news right now. They want to be able to go onto their smartphone, onto the internet, and see the news that they want to see.
Vancouver is growing at, a really rapid rate, the Lower Mainland even, and with the tools that we're given here, we're able to cover all of that.
Welcome to BCIT Magazine. I'm Radhika Sikakane.
In the program, they really leave it up to you. I mean, the help is there when you need it, figuring out how to use the programs like Premiere, Audition, and figuring out how to use the cameras. But it's up to you to sort of experiment and figure out what you can do when you go out in the field.
They brought candles and flowers to remember the student who lost her life yesterday.
Theresa May says the international community condemns Moscow.
They really make sure that you know the basics and you are able to put out a quality product.
I'm Brady Tretanero.
And I'm Radhika Sikakane. Thank you for tuning in to BCIT Magazine.